Hello and welcome to the Kiwi Advisor Network podcast. I'm Warwick Slow and today's guest is Andy Turner from Wealth HQ. Andy started off in the financial services industry at the ripe old age of 16. He's now 32, which means he spent half his life in this industry, which is a pretty mean feat considering I think the average age would be probably double that. Now, Andy has joined Mortgage HQ, like a sister business of that, which is called Wealth HQ. And I think he's done a fantastic job building up processes, building out a team, and just offering more than just his specialist, which is insurance. He's got a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. I think you'll really enjoy this chat. And remember, this counts towards your CPD hours, so make sure you log it into your register. And if you get value from this, please share it with somebody else who might enjoy it. The more who listen and watch this, the more we can invest into it. And remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can listen to it via Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Otherwise, enjoy the podcast. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us. It is weird and bit strange calling you Andrew. I feel like I know you as Andy, but stoked for you to join us today. I think it's been a wee while since we've known each other.
Yes.
And you've come on a bit of a journey since then.
I have.
So tell the people, what are you doing today with Wealth HQ?
So other than the day-to-day management of the business, obviously one of the main advisors there, training, advisory, everything, all that fun stuff with the business. I think the key thing that I'm doing right now fundamentally is just making sure that I can see as many clients as I can and help them through the wealth journey that we take most of our clients on, but also helping the clients that have just settled with property to be able to look after their goals as well. We've got different facets. We have different areas of the business that we look at, and I guess across all of that. So we're not just like a standard insurance business. That's not what we do. There's so many different layers to it. So I've got like a little spot in every little layer. But yeah, it's ticking along quite nicely.
That's a good part. Talking about a standard insurance business that's like an advisor that just focuses on insurance, where you've gone a bit more holistic. You're obviously connected to Mortgage HQ, does the mortgage.
Yes.
You've got Wealth HQ.
Yes.
So what does that look like? How do they tie in together in terms of giving good outcomes to clients and also more revenue for the business?
Yeah. So Mortgage HQ has now has a 4-stage process, right? The mortgage life cycle is what we call it. It used to be 3 stages, now it's 4. So stage 0 is Wealth HQ. When people come into the business, our clients, I'd say, come into the business, they're engaging with us to find out how they can purchase a property. So if you go to a bank or a mortgage advisor and someone's just fundamentally not ready, right? The only advice that people can give, unless they do this as well, is to say, come back to me in 6 months or a year or whenever, and then we can relook at where you're at. What we do at Wealth HQ effectively is look at their position and see how we can accelerate that journey towards home ownership. On the flip side, if someone's already bought a home and wants to buy an investment property, we can also show them how to accelerate that journey. So that's that stage 0. It's the taking care of somebody from the very beginning, showing them how to accelerate their deposit, taking a look at their expenditure, where all of the money is going, and just really deep diving into that. And then when we've got clients from the Mortgage HQ side coming to us, they've obviously settled on 1 property, 2 property, the 5th, 10th property. That conversation is fundamentally a little bit different because it's about protecting a journey, right? It's about, this is where you are, this is where you want to go. How are we going to protect that journey? So we don't just lock people in a box and say, this is what you need now. We're quite holistic in the approach that we say, look, this is what we need to do for the time being. In the next 12 months, we'll be talking about it anyway. But if that journey changes, property side of it, they pay down lots of debt, we're going to know. We're going to know about that. On top of that, it's also the KiwiSaver advice for retirement first home buyers as well, which we've re-added now that we brought on our investment specialist recently. So we've added that back to the business too. So it is very much holistic. It's very much let's look at somebody where they are today, where they want to get to. As one of our advisors said, you never get into a vehicle without knowing the destination. And we want our clients to figure out what that destination is, and we can take them along that journey with them as well. So yeah, it's a lot of different aspects of the business and how we work.
And you started off in insurance.
Yes.
So you're an insurance advisor, and a lot of the time advisors, like one of the challenges is getting leads in, and a great vehicle for that is a mortgage business. Mm-hmm. So connecting yourself to a business like Mortgage HQ, how does that come about? How do you forge that relationship and then start a business with them?
Yeah, it was a long time coming, in all honesty. And actually, I'm not sure I've told you the story before, but it did start with Chuck. Yeah. So,
all right.
Yes. So it started with Chuck, where it would have been 2018, I think. He reached out to me on LinkedIn, I believe it was, and just messaged me out the blue and said, "Hey, look, you're a young advisor in the industry. I'd like to get your feedback around the current CRM systems you're using." So obviously he was a director or big part of it, Mortgage HQ, iRefi back then. And he was looking at opportunities to create, I guess, Trail.
Chuck's the guy who started Trail, by the way, which also started Kiwi Advisor Network for those, I'm sure most people would know. But
yeah, and also started iRefi. Yeah, so he started a few. But he reached out to me just to look for advice that I could give him about what I would need within a CRM system. So we caught up a couple of times, went for a couple of walks, went through all of that and just stayed in contact. And then he reached out again with Andrew, who's a director of Mortgage HQ now, and Andrew just wanted to chat. And I went and I remember caught up with him in, I think it was City Centre somewhere. And at that time, he just said, "Look, this is what we want to do. We want to add insurance to our business." And at that point, I wasn't ready. I was very happy with where I was. I was happy with the journey in which I was on. And fundamentally, I look back now and I don't think I was actually ready anyway, like mentally and emotionally. I just don't think I was mature enough to make that step. And I guess following that, he said, "Look, if you want to have a chat tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, look, we'd love to be able to have you." And that was sort of where it ended. Now, fast forward a couple of years, Daniel Lippman, who used to work for Mortgage HQ, currently traveling the world right now, having fun doing all that. I did say to Andrew, "Look, I'm happy to set up like a referral network with one of your mortgage advisors just to get a feel with how you guys do it." So he put me in touch with Daniel, and him and I fledged a really good relationship. So I would be giving him some mortgage deals from clients, my friends and the people in which I was dealing with. And in return, he'll be obviously providing details of his clients for me to deal with the insurance side. But that went really well. And I got a call from him in 2021, the first lockdown, I think it was. And he just said, "Hey, Andy, like the guys got somebody in to do the insurance and it didn't work. They then had a referral network with somebody else and it wasn't quite what they wanted. So they realized that they had to start another business, but they didn't have anyone to start it with. So Daniel reached out to me saying, "We've been doing this. Would you be interested in chatting to Andrew?" I was like, "Yep, 100%. Look, I'm always open to opportunities." And Andrew forgot who I was, by the way. So he forgot we even caught up.
I'm sure he didn't. Yeah, is this the classic negging thing? Like, "Oh, who is this? Did you get number saved?"
Yeah. He was just, no, we caught up on Zoom and he's just chatting to me. I was like, "You do realize we met before?" He goes, "Where?" And so I told him where. He goes, "Oh, yeah, that's right." Really weird. But yeah, he said, "This is what we're trying to do." And I remember sitting there, I was like, this is just like a perfect opportunity. I was sort of thinking about, did I want to go into being a BDM? Was I looking at other opportunities? I was in my mind, I wasn't quite certain or sure that where I was where I wanted to be. Like I've got this, I want to grow, right? And this opportunity came up. I thought I'd be silly not to entertain an idea. So I went in for a week. I wasn't actually a week, it was only a day or two, just to see and meet the guys. And when I met the team, it was like, yeah, this is something I really want to do. So then Insurance HQ was born with Blandon, Andrew, and myself. And then Wealth HQ was a year and a half later.
And you said earlier, you didn't know if you were ready or not. What changed in that 2 years? You got a dog?
Look, no, I didn't have a dog at that time. No. But I was, it was during COVID, right? And the leads weren't necessarily there. Everyone was looking at tightening up. I looked at where I was and I think I expected to be a little bit further ahead. And that was obviously my own doing as well. I guess I didn't have the motivation then. I'm not actually sure. I can't put my finger on exactly what it was, but I wasn't happy with where I was. It was just something within me. And I'm a person that I don't really like change. I like staying in my lane, so to speak. But this was a lane that I just had to test out. Like I had to move out, get out of my comfort zone to think, Andy, like this is an opportunity that has come. It's too good to turn down. Yes, a lot of hours and a lot of work and a lot of not really seeing my partner, which was tough. But at the exact same time, it's kind of helped build what we have today and the sort of culture and the team and where we have come. So I'm really, really grateful that I did make that change. I did say, look, even though it's tough, even though you don't want to do it. And like, honestly, 7 years with my last place, with 2 other advisors, at that time, it was like, well, we were quite close. And that was something that I was really petrified about even bringing to them, to talk to them saying, look, I'm actually going to go in a different direction. It was really tough, but if you, I think, shy away from tough moments in life, you're not going to really move forward. And yeah, it was tough. I look back on it, but it was the right thing to do.
Finding young blood that's also experienced in the insurance industry, not to make you feel too special, but that you're sort of a unicorn, because if you're at what do you like? 32 years young. So you're 16 years in insurance, half your life has been spent in the insurance industry.
Yeah.
You just can't find that.
Yeah. Started at 16, not as an advisor.
But you're in the industry.
I was in the industry.
What were you doing?
I was working for ING back in the day at school. It was like a data entry role, right? From 5:30 to 9. It was like, I think it was 16 or 18 bucks an hour. Like that's pretty bloody good money.
That's really good.
Yeah. So I was really happy with that. And it was just data entry. But my sister-in-law is in insurance. So she's actually a senior underwriter at AIA now. She's been at different insurance companies, but she was at ING that went to Cigna. Then it went to what
Chubb.
it is now. Yeah, Chubb. So that's kind of how I got in. And then it was like 21 was when I became a financial advisor or an advisor. So if you think I look young now, imagine what I would have looked like 12 years ago. I was baby faced. I didn't have any facial hair. It was an interesting journey to even get to that point.
How do you even have that conversation with someone if you're like a pimp squeak?
Yeah.
Not saying you were, but you're a young and no life experience, or comparatively to the people you're talking to. How do you bridge that?
It's tough. It was very tough. Honestly, in the early days, I think it really came down to the fact that I worked internally at an insurance company for so long. I just knew what I was talking about, right? I knew product. I didn't necessarily know how to apply that to protect somebody, but I knew the product. I knew how it worked. I knew the internal mechanisms of how an insurance company works, from an application hitting a desk for it to getting assessed and all of that. So I feel like that did give me a bit of an advantage, because when people talk to me, they realized that I knew what I was talking about. I use the analogy, it was like taking bricks out of a wall, right? I just every time I saw somebody talk to somebody, it was always the one thing that I think mentally held me back too, because I was like, I'm so young. But also when you go and talk to somebody who's 40 or 50 and you've got this 21-year-old, it's like, what do you actually know? You never owned a home. You don't have kids. It was like taking bricks out of a wall just to gain their trust as well. And that's not easy to do at 21 years old. But because I knew what I was talking about, I feel like that really did help. Look, there wasn't much social media back then. I think Bebo was around, maybe MySpace and stuff like that. There was Facebook would have been in the early days, but there was no sort of, or LinkedIn, I don't even think was a thing there. So it was really hard to network, or harder to network, really old school as well. You go to events, you got paper applications, which...
Door knocking.
Yeah, I never did that, right? I used to have a very big fear of actually getting on the phone and talking to people, which was really weird. I haven't cold called. It's just not my area of expertise. Ever? No.
Mate, it's a thrill.
It's funny. Like even now, because our situation is so different, right? With our lead generation, our clients, I still don't cold call. Like our prospects come through. I still don't really do that. We've got a dedicated team for that. But if I picked up the phone, I'd be happy to do it now. Like I've kind of got rid of that fear. It was like the caller version, I think it's what they called. And I kind of shied away from that. But at a young age of 21, it was really difficult. But the one thing I did learn is the old saying that you can only really work 10 years either side of your own age. It's either so what that said to me is, okay, I can only deal with someone who's either 21 to 31 or 21 to 11. And people between 11 years old and 21 aren't getting insurance, right? So that myth is completely debunked. It's not the case. If anyone ever says that to you, it's not the case. As you can imagine, even now I'm 30, but I'm dealing with 56-year-olds, and I'm dealing with people who are just buying their first home or have to get off mum and dad's medical policy, for example, and get their own. So that myth it's not true.
So how did you get from, because understanding product and being good at giving advice, and there is a big sales element to all types of advice, especially insurance. How did you hone those skills?
Time. I think more recently, it's been the most beneficial thing has been around other advisors, so like-minded younger advisors, because our team, it's young, right? I believe I'm 32 and I'm probably like the fourth oldest. If I remove, pretty much the fourth oldest.
Similar setup here.
Very similar.
To the point, there's people 2 years younger than me that are saying, "Okay, boomer." I'm like, mate,
get out of
you're
town.
born just after me.
Get out. But I think that was the other thing about when I did start the insurance side of it with Mortgage HQ was I recall being back in the boat shed. Now the boat shed, I don't think you ever went there. It's down at Half Moon Bay.
In the marina
there, yeah. So you know where we are now, but it's across the water. It was a very small room.
Oh, that's pretty much where I started at Trail. We were in this tiny little room, like next to the gym in the marina.
Yeah, okay.
Shoebox, I called it.
Yeah, I know exactly which one it is because I've been in there. But inside that room, I learned a lot. Think about 8 advisors talking to people all the time. I listened, like I was like a sponge. I was listening to how people would hold their communications, what they would say, what were some really cool lines that they might have used that either engaged a client or led to being able to receive the information without actually receiving the information, right? When I was only doing insurance and only around insurance, that's all I was thinking about. I was just thinking about insurance. Now it's a holistic approach. It's about the wider journey. It's the wider purpose. Insurance is only one part of that, an extremely important part of that. But I feel like as I grew inside that team, having the right people around me fundamentally was what has propelled, I think, myself as a financial advisor, my business acumen, is just being around the right people. And you don't know when you're around the right people. And this isn't saying the advisors I was with before weren't the right people. It was the fact that I also don't think I was ready to absorb as much as that I have recently.
And you get different perspectives. I've worked with some people really closely and learn a lot from them. And then you have somebody else come in and they've just got a completely different approach that you go, oh, wow, I'm going to start doing that too.
Yeah, it's quite eye-opening. So I think that was the big thing that really honed in my sales skills. And obviously recently with the growth of, the change from Insurance HQ to Wealth HQ and the added services which we do and the joining of 2 businesses at that stage, came with somebody who is an incredible salesperson, really, really good. And I've learned a lot from him, not necessarily how to do things, but just the conversation style. So the number one thing that I look back at my career and I feel like I learned in the last 3 years more than I probably did in the 10 prior to that. And that's probably because I was ready to learn. But just being around those people was really honed in my skills and absorbing everything, because my way, some of the things were really good. Some of the things needed to be improved, but I think constant development's a huge key fundamental factor, right? It's like you want to be 1% better every single day. You need to look at ways that you can do that. There's a lot of podcasts, funny enough, that I listen to. Do a lot more personal development, right? It might only be 30 minutes a day when I'm in the car on the way home from work. My brain's still switched on. Little things like that, take nuggets out, write them down and see if I can apply them in the daily. So I think that's most certainly helped me as well, is just being a sponge.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because you just get into different rhythms. Like if I think about my time in the UK, I was doing like an account manager sales type role. I just feel like I was just going through the motions, not really. No, I wanted to do well, but I just wasn't as proactive as I am now.
Not engaged or didn't have the brain switched on.
Well, yeah, and you just don't know what you don't know. I didn't know there was a whole resource of podcasts you can listen to where you can learn, different like negotiating or sales tactics or just things to help communicate the value better. Because a lot of the time, like what I'm pitching and what you're pitching, it's not like you're selling them snake oil. It's genuinely going to make an impact in their lives.
Yeah.
But the key part is just, getting to make a decision, based on what you told them. But if you're not getting that message across clearly, they're never going to go for it.
Yeah. I also think it's, you've got to look at yourself and you've got to look at the process and think, how can I make this better? How can it be more efficient? What can I add, or where can I add automation, for example, if possible? And that's a massive thing right now. Like AI is huge, not just the ChatGPT side of it, but everything else in which it can do. But looking at ways to make things more efficient so it allows me to do what I'm best at. And I look back, and even 2 years ago when I was talking to clients, I'm like, sweet, here's my booking link, booking with a time with me. I literally changed that to, okay, I'm going to book in the next meeting. Like, don't leave the ball in their court. Straight away. Like,
get them on the phone.
Yeah, straight away. They're right here. Okay, look at your calendar, book them in. Diary gets filled a lot quicker, right? They don't forget. They're ready. And that's one of the big things. It's just a small thing that really pushed our production higher. Might seem basic, right? But it's just never leave the ball in somebody's court. Happens, I think, a lot more than what we think. If you say, oh, look, come back to me, or come back when you're ready. No, that's not the case. Cool, you say you're going to be ready in 2 weeks. Cool, we're going to book a meeting in 2 weeks. Just little tweaks that we've made has really changed think where we are today, but where we need to go. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be so much work that we still need to do that we don't even realize right now. But being open-minded, I think for us is most certainly helping.
So speaking of being proactive, talk about the tell me about the 48-hour rule. What does that look like?
What do you know about the 48-hour rule?
I see things going across my desk.
Okay. Okay. So the 48-hour rule is something that one of my business partners, Ali, he implemented quite early on when he came into the organization. All it simply means is that once we've talked to somebody, we want to have them booked in again for the next meeting within 48 hours, if humanly possible. Like if our diaries allows it in theirs, that's what we want to do. And the reason behind it is it's actually simple. The reason is because we want to make sure that they don't forget anything. We want to make sure that if they've got any questions, they're right on their mind, and they are like we're holding their hand through the whole process, and we're not really letting go. Like that's the whole reason. Like if we do 48 hours, 48 hours, 48 hours, one, it allows us to get the client from A to Z in a more timely manner. It allows us to talk to a lot more people, but it gets the client's desired outcome faster. Everyone wants things done quicker, right? You don't want to have things.
The longer it drags on, they're just going to be like, what's the point?
Imagine if you're ready, you could buy a home like that. You'd want to buy a home, but you've got to submit it, got to get assessed, you've got to do documents. Like it takes a long period of time to actually go from A to Z. So the 48-hour rule allows us to get them there quicker.
And insurance is such a grudge purchase. Switching your KiwiSaver, it's stuff that can make a massive impact, and you'd regret it if you didn't do it. But it's just the fact that I don't want to commit time to doing this.
Yeah, but if you've got them on the phone and they're right there in front of you, there's only one way to commit them is by booking something in, and it's simple. The 48-hour rule is a lot easier when it comes to insurance or when it comes to KiwiSaver or our wealth management aspect. The front end, it's a little bit harder with the mortgage side of it, right? Because we'll book a meeting in 48 hours, but if they haven't got the documents in, then you've blocked out 30 minutes of your time that could go to somebody else. So it's a little bit harder to integrate into that business, and we're still, maybe do extend it to 72 hours. Where humanly possible, can we actually make this work? So that's still a trial and error, because I don't think there's any point not doing something. Right? Don't let perfect get in the way of doing something, right? So we might as well try something. If it doesn't work, we'll just keep working on it. But yeah, the 48-hour rule is something that's definitely helped our clients get their results faster.
And for you too. I think about so many times where you just have people that just sit in a certain stage of your pipeline for so long, and it's the right call. They know it's the right call, and it's just for whatever reason it just gets kicked down the road because it's easier.
Yeah,
and I think holding their hand is just so crucial.
It is that you can't do the 48-hour rule once an application has been submitted because it's out in your hands, right? But so long as we're giving our clients an update every 5 days, like that's even if there's no update, they're getting an email, something across, and just say, hey, look, this is at this position, and this is at this step. We're expecting things to be X amount. You'll hear from us in 5 days, if not before. Like simple. It's all about communication. I think it's about making sure the client's aware, making sure that we can hold their hand as along the journey. But once we go through the issuance of an insurance application, or we redesign the KiwiSaver if we need to, or even once the property has been settled, like that's not where their journey ends, right? Because normally there's a plan to either buy an investment property, pay down debt faster. Are they utilizing some of their mortgage facilities correctly, revolving, all of that, your offset. I love the offset, just myself. But anyway, but I am a insurance advisor by trade. I have been a mortgage advisor before. I only specialize in the insurance and the wealth side of it, but the knowledge of mortgage has really allowed me to engage a lot better with my clients as well. And I also think that's a massive reason why we can have this really good relationship between Wealth HQ and Mortgage HQ, and our clients get the desired outcomes that they're wanting. There's obviously going to be a lot of people out there too that have a very similar setup, but it's about getting the client from A to Z as quick as possible.
And then what would you say to maybe one of those advisors that they specialize in one part and they've had that feeling in the back of their mind for so long that they should be doing other services, or they should be doing KiwiSaver, should be doing mortgages, etc. What's your advice to them?
Everybody is different. This isn't going to be everyone's different, but you've got to make a decision whether or not you specialize in 2 areas, or you only specialize in one and you create a relationship with somebody else. You merge with somebody, a referral network, something along those lines. Now, I'm a person, I like to keep control. I don't really like the idea of, here's John Bob, can you talk to them? I don't really like that idea because I lose control. I lose control of the client outcome. So people that are thinking about maybe adding insurance or adding mortgage or adding something in that they're not currently doing, I think it's about testing out whether or not they want to do it themselves. I personally believe, I think I can only be a specialist in the insurance side of it when it comes to product, because I just want to be the best that I can be in that particular field. I've got mortgage guys that are that's all they do, but that's all they focus on. They're the best, right? They're awesome at that. So anyone that's thinking about adding more services, you will need to, I think, figure out, do you want to be a specialist or do you want to be like a general practitioner, right? Do you want to have your fingers in loads of different pies, or do you just want to be the best that you can be? If you want to be the best you can be, then I'd strongly suggest looking down the route of partnering up with somebody, going through LinkedIn, right? Like following people, going to some of the events insurers or banks will be putting on, right? Talking to people. Are you a solo guy? Like what's your sort of relationship and what you do? Do you want to potentially add more services to your book? And then go and find somebody that might fit with you, follow the same goals, have the same morals, the same values, I think is the most important, because you can get in bed with someone, the wrong person, right? You don't want that. So I would say go out, network, have an idea of what you want to do. But the same old saying, you don't get in the vehicle without knowing the destination. We need to understand as advisors or as business owners where we want to take our business. Where do we want to take our clients? The other big reason that I look at offering as many products or services that we can to our clients is stickability. If we can do the KiwiSaver, the insurance, the mortgages, we've got property formula workshops, obviously, we've got paid courses, all of that. If we can help take our clients on those journeys, then I don't see why they'd go anywhere else, right? So someone's got insurance and that's all they're doing. Really look into seeing if you can extend those services externally, if you don't want to do it yourself, because it's a lot of work to do it yourself as well, particularly now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Extra, legislation, compliance, all of that.
Yeah, training.
I get asked all the time by other advisors. They're like, "Oh, can you put me in touch with somebody to refer to, or vice versa?" And some of the advice I give is just Google insurance or mortgage broker in your area, and just meet up for a coffee. You never know, if you connect. Yeah, there could be a really exciting opportunity.
Well, if you think how I've come about, it was literally a connection through LinkedIn. And then it moved into a phone call, and then I was reached out to again, and now this is what we have, right? Like we've got a really fun, energetic young business that is quite nimble, that needs to move, and throughout times right now, economic climates that we're in at the moment, insurance is probably one of the first things people are going to try and get rid of, right? So if that's all you do, a big part of your book could be at risk as well, right? So it's also being able to get in touch with those people, get in front of those people, and having as much support around you as possible. I think that's huge. But yeah, network is the biggest thing. Go out and meet people, figure out what you want. The referral aspect I do only in one instance, but that's because I've tried to get him on board with us, and I've tried he's got his own business. I'm like, come on. Still trying. I'm not sure if he's with you. If he is, he'll know exactly who it is. Oh. Yeah, I'm not going to say his name.
Nah, especially not now. No, maybe later. No. Get him on board.
Yeah.
That's... I was chatting with the business yesterday. I was in a similar position where focus on mortgage market's down, and we're just workshopping some ideas about bringing revenue into the business. And it's just looking at other strands like KiwiSaver or insurance. It just seems so obvious from the surface, but it's just having to go a little bit outside your comfort zone to add that additional.
It is comfort zone, because people don't want to venture into waters they don't know, right? If you don't know how to do it, then go and talk to somebody that might have already done it. I spoke to quite a few people about the direction we need to. I've got a business mentor as well, so a lot of that, having someone to talk to that's been there, done it, is extremely valuable. And that's a great thing, I think, with having a mortgage business, which is 7 or 8 years in now. They've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and they've made a lot of really good decisions. So we get to learn from those bad mistakes and echo the same, what's the word I'm looking for? Repeat the same good things that they have done. But the revenue aspect, if you've only got one stream of it, really looking at those others, that insurance, the asset finance, the KiwiSaver, right? Can you, podcasts, obviously, there's a lot that people can actually do to get themselves out there. But the hardest thing is finding leads. The hardest thing is finding clients, right? We hear that in my industry, particularly the insurance side of it. We hear that a lot. A lot of the talks that insurers put on is, how do you get leads?
Yeah. I'm in all, like on my Instagram, for instance, the algorithm knows I'm in the industry. So all I get is mortgage advisors, but it can't tell whether I'm like a client that's looking to buy or I'm a mortgage advisor that needs leads. So I get both. I get like one of the main ads I get is get mortgage leads.
Yeah. I think we need to think about it that as an advisory firm like ours, we effectively have two massive functions, right? Remember, there's going to be sub functions underneath everyone, but we're advisory and we're a marketing firm. That's effectively what we do, right? We market and we advise. Without the marketing, there is no advisory, right? And without the advisory, there's no, well, we'd be selling leads, right? That's what we'd be doing.
That's pretty much the business, how it started.
Yeah, that is exactly how it started. So it's funny how these things go, but you really got to be over both of those, but you've got to throw money at it as well. Like that's the truth. Like if you don't have a big book or you're just starting out, yes, you can try and grow organically through through LinkedIn and this and that. But the question that always got asked to me is like, what is your point of difference? Right. And it took me 7 years to figure out what my point of difference was.
Seems obvious to me.
You go and tell me, what is it?
No, you say yours and then I'll...
It's, look, our point of difference is most certainly the wealth management aspect of it, the 0 to 1 process. That most certainly is our point of difference.
It's different what I was going to say.
Sure it was. It's the client journey, right? I think like there's only one other business, maybe two, that are very similar to what we do. But yeah, I could be completely wrong. There could be way more out there.
I can actually think of a few, but there aren't many.
Yeah, so for us, that's our point of difference, is how we go about doing our business.
It's from the surface, it seems so logical because you, especially for a company, if you say it's a marketing company, you paid that money. You've invested that into marketing. The lead comes in. Like not only do you want them to have a better outcome and a better lifestyle and a better future, you still want to get like the maximum bang for your buck out of that client that's come through. So
of course,
it seems like an obvious transition.
Yeah, we look at obviously like business wise, the cost of goods sold and the cost of a client, right? Like because we have to get the client from somewhere, we have to advise the client. There's a duration for coming in and them either settling on a mortgage or whatever that looks like. But the one area that I feel is not the exception, it's the one that's really pushed us or the mortgage side forward, has been the YouTube. It has been the free educational content that's been pumped out there, because we know a lot of the advisors out there that will be listening to this as well have a wealth of knowledge. It's a shame that it's just bundled up in their own mind, right? And only to the people that they deal with. YouTube allows you to get it out there. Yes, that's part of our lead generation per se, or people come in wanting to know more, but we're still helping a lot more people, even that we don't deal with, understand the mortgage, understand products, understand what they need to do, inflation, these sort of things where people aren't quite ready to act right now, but they're happy that they're able to get the information for free.
Right. It's amazing. It's the same thing with this. Yeah. Think about all these, like, you might like not agree because you're humble, but like all these great things you've been talking about and all the advice that different advisors have been sharing prior to like this type of platform and the Facebook group that we made. It's just like, I don't know, apart from a conference, there's not really an opportunity to talk and share ideas.
That Facebook group as well, fantastic. I know a few of the speakers on here are in that group as well, and I've seen their podcasts and listened to their podcasts and some fantastic stuff that's come out from them as well. But it's a very active platform where advisors are helping advisors, right? People are saying, I've got this problem. Who's come across it? I saw one, I think it was today, it was about, I'm not going to go into the details of it, obviously, but it was a really tricky situation. And there was about 18 or 19 comments saying that I've dealt with this once. This is how you do it. This is what you should be doing. Here's some advice. Happy to catch up for a coffee if you need some help. Right? That's really cool to see. People coming together. Like, we're in a small industry, but what I like to think is people aren't out there for other people's business, right? That's just not the case. If you've got people helping each other, I think it's a great platform to be a part of. But yeah, this allows a lot of free education to a lot of people that might just be getting started.
And I think, generally speaking, the more educated the entire general public is, the better our industry can be as a whole. So
Yeah.
even if, we put this content out and people don't join us and vice versa, they go to another, mortgage insurance advisor, like, doesn't really matter. I mean,
No.
great if they did, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Come on.
I think it's, everyone goes through different journeys to get to where they get to, right? And for me, I never looked past just being self-employed, just being myself, being insurance. Like, I'm fantastic giving insurance advice, right? But I always, in the back of my mind, always thought about why me? Why would someone pick me over somebody else, right? And that's kind of what we focused on more recently. The journey in which I've been on it's not been easy, right? Being a commission only back in the day is somewhat
That's tough.
difficult, right? Because if you're not settling deals, and if I was to go back even further, that's actually why I got into this industry. It wasn't not the commission. I remember when I worked internally at an insurance company, I had a call I think it was on a Thursday night or a Friday morning from a mortgage advisor, insurance advisor, saying, "Hey Andy, can you issue this deal? I've got my mortgage coming out on Monday. I need the money." And it really hit me in the face at that point. I was like, it made me, rightly or wrongly, question whether or not this insurance app, this quote and this app and all of that was in the right intentions. Like, were we either moving this business, or was he submitting this business and getting it issued for just to get paid, or was it purely to help the person? Now, I'll never know the answer to that. I don't know if I'm thinking incorrectly, but how my brain went there was the reason that I thought, you know what, I want to get into being a financial advisor. Like, I want to get into not ever being in that situation where you're doing things for the wrong reasons. And that's obviously why the changes came around. But that was really eye-opening for me to actually see those sort of things happening. I know this industry, and it really annoys me, has always had a relatively interesting stigma associated with it, right? Like, you're a salesperson, right? No, whilst we sell a product, that's not incorrect. We are here effectively advising people what they should be doing, how they can protect themselves, right? Like, that's what we're here to do. So we should be treated the same as lawyers or as doctors or as specialists, right? Because we are specialized in a particular profession which is going to help our people. But sometimes we're not looked at in that sort of light, and it really frustrates me. So getting out there, making sure that I'm doing the best job that I can for my clients is the only thing which I can do, and hope that obviously everyone that comes on board with me as an advisor or that we work with has the exact same sort of thought process as well.
And the better the industry is, the more trust there is it's gained. So I follow this Reddit, the Personal Finance NZ, and even like last week, there was just like a thread in there just slating advisors and like, I don't, I had a really bad experience. But then there's always like a few in there be like, nah, I've got one that's really good. Speak to them. I'm like, if we can just like lift the bottom up, we're all going to benefit from it.
Even the amount of conversations I have is crazy, right? The amount of types of conversations, people saying, oh, insurance doesn't pay out. Well, like one of our insurers paid out over 600 million last year. 93% of claims were paid. Like, they definitely pay out. These are the reasons they've been paid for, right? Like, that happens. Claims are a real thing. That's what we effectively do. We advise, but we're actually there at claim time. That's the number one thing that people can't forget, is that whilst we are there to put a product in place and help them and service them along the way, like, fundamentally, we are there when things hit the fan, right? And some of I always have one claim at the front of my mind, which I'll never forget. And I talk to a lot of people and share that story with a lot of people, because it just helped me understand and see firsthand the value of what insurance actually does for people.
What's the story?
Oh, you want me to tell the story?
I was waiting for it.
Oh, right.
You can give as much or as little.
Yeah,
as you
I
want.
will. Yeah. So it was for a 28-year-old female. This was, it was my first ever claim as well. And my first ever claim, I would have been 22, 23, right? We reviewed the insurance, and it was at one insurance company, and there was a breast exclusion on there. I got it re-looked at, and they wouldn't remove the exclusion. So I went and talked to a few different insurance companies, and we were able to get the trauma cover, income protection, all of that without, and the medical, without the breast exclusion. The breast exclusion. 2 years later or 3 years later, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, double mastectomy at 28 years old, right? So I remember going around to her house. She lived around the corner from me. I've worked with her before, and I'll never forget walking into her house. It was on my birthday too. Walked into her house and just seeing all of the documents on the table with just a bottle in the middle of it. And I just remember looking at her, and I've never seen someone so in shock in my life. Like it was just, it kind of gives me goosebumps even thinking about the moment. It was horrible to see. And I knew at that point, like I'm not going to fix the cancer. I can't fix cancer, right? But the only thing that I can do is make sure that no matter what, she doesn't have to worry about money. No matter what, her medical costs are going to be covered. No matter what, she doesn't have to worry about her son, right? Because she was a solo mother as well with a mortgage. So she got her trauma cover paid out, like a decent amount of trauma cover. Her income protection paid her while she was off work for 3 years. Her medical cover covered all of her costs, and she was fundamentally fine. She's completely fine now. And I remember looking at how, the product suite and how we organized everything to cover the biggest concern, which for her actually was cancer, how it all worked so perfectly and so quickly. And knowing that without that, she would have,
it's hard to think, isn't it?
It's hard to even think. Yeah. So the good thing is she's okay. She's happy. She was able to take her kid on holiday because that was one of the things that people, when we think about being dealt that card, how are we going to respond to that? I can't say how I would respond to it, but she responded saying, cool, life is flashing in front of my eyes. I'm going to take my kids away. I'm going to go on holiday. Yes, she's got treatment and all of that, but that was one of the first things she shot because now life is extremely precious. So at the front of my mind is always the claims in which we paid out. It's always how it has really positively impacted people. And even the small ones where I've got in touch with somebody who wasn't my client, right? Their advisors left the industry. They thought they might have a claim. They weren't paid out, or they didn't actually submit a claim. And we've had retrospective claims paid for people without even doing business for them. Like that's what we're here to do, right? Which is also what makes moving policies so risky, right? In the right circumstances, most certainly. But like that claims experience for me, I'll never forget it because it really showed me the value of my advice and the process and the trust in it. But if you've never seen it, I can understand why young people question it because it will never have. We're 10 foot tall and bulletproof, right? Never happens to us. Never happens to us.
I even think about 22-year-old me walking into that room, like having found that out, I don't even know how I'd react.
It was,
not
horrible.
Nice. So, I mean, how the industry is, the average age is quite old. How we can't argue with that.
Aging, yes.
How can we get younger people into the industry? So many businesses ask me if I know any young insurance, not even young, just any insurance advisors. There's like a massive hole right there. How do you do it? And what are some other ideas that we could bring to the table?
Goodness me, I wish you asked me this question yesterday so I could prep for it. How do we do it? Goodness me, I'm trying to.
But let's think to your own story. How can we replicate what you went through?
Yeah, well, I literally I fell into a
data entry job, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I fell into a data entry job, and I do love that journey because it set me up to where I get to. So starting out, like when you've got young people looking at, what am I going to do? I'm going to go on an OE potentially, hypothetically. You're 18, out of school. Do I go to uni? Do I not? Do I want to do an OE? I'll just find a job in the meantime, right? You should look at an industry. You should be looking at, potentially finance. I'll always be biased to finance because it's not just the insurance, but it's the value of knowledge in life that mortgage can bring you. Understanding the value of money through asset and what bad debt and good debt can do. The great thing of leverage through mortgage and through taking good debt out. The aspect of how your KiwiSaver works, just being able to make really good financial decisions. It's a really good place. Now, if to start internally, either at a bank or at an insurance company, just doing basic work, understand it, figure out if it's for you. If it's not, cool. If it is, the next step would be trying to go and join a company which is willing to give you the training, is willing to develop you as a person, but you also believe in, but you also follow those values, right? I think that's important. We hire, we're not biased to hiring anybody, obviously, but a lot of our more recent hires have been young people quite new to the industry because we've got the ability to give them a lot of our knowledge, hold their hand, train them and teach them to be the best version of themselves. But how we get people into the industry is we need to, I think, glamorize it a little bit more. Right. If we've got this bad connotation or bad stigma to it, why would I go into insurance? I don't believe in insurance. Then that's something we need to fix. And I don't know how we fix it.
Got an idea.
How?
The firefighters, they've got their annual calendar.
Oh, I do know that. Yeah, you want to do one for financial
I don't
advice.
want to do one.
No.
No, I'm just saying.
Would you be on it?
This could be, no, not an insurance, sorry.
No. What about can we have a Kiwi advisor network?
Oh, the calendar.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, I'll pitch it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll pitch it.
I reckon.
I can't promise.
Chuck's going to listen to this. I reckon it's going to be good use. It's good use of his time and money.
Would you go to schools and like career days and that type of thing? Like, is that something you'd
look,
into?
Most certainly, definitely, it is an option. I think finances, so particularly right now, is an area that's been spoken about a lot, right? There's a lot of podcasts about money just in general. And remember, insurance is only one of those aspects of it. Someone might fall into another category, but going to careers days aspect, something like that would be extremely helpful. I know one of the insurance companies has got something, I think it's called Be Good with Money or Be Better with Money. I can't remember the actual name of it, but that's all about getting financial literacy into schools right now, right? So that's what's happening right now. So what we might find as a result of that is people are more clued up and think, I actually really like this. I actually want to go down that route. But other than just going to schools, talking to people, I think just being as positive as possible, I think is important. But secondly, I think if we are, as an industry, as I said, glamorized before, but if we start to remove that, oh, you're an insurance advisor, or you're only here to sell me insurance sort of thing. If we can remove that sort of mind frame, then I think we'll be better suited. But how we actually do it, if I knew that, I'd be out doing it, right? I'd be out there. One thing that we are, or I'm trying to think if I can actually say this, but what we are looking at to do as a firm in the near future is to create an advisor school. So we effectively do it for our clients to an extent where we've got our online platform where you've got your stage 1, 2, and 3 masterclasses, right? Teaching them about property investment and all of that. We have been thinking about launching a advisor platform. So what that means is anyone that is interested in the industry is able to go through a course with us, learning about the industry, figuring out if this is something that they're going to be passionate about, training them, and effectively going with the insurance companies as well, getting them all on board with this. And what we'd like as a result of that is new people into this industry, young or old, looking at the aspect of better educated people. So they're walking in with a good level of understanding, or walking out of it, with a good level of understanding. But also, like I said about the clients having the handheld, they get held through the whole process through understanding how to have the communications or those conversations with clients, understanding what is good advice and what's bad advice, understanding why we do good advice. Well, everyone should be doing good advice, but the repercussions of not doing good advice. So that's one thing that we have been thinking about for a while, is that would potentially help the problem. It's not a small fix, but
it's even just finding the people to get into the school. That's the hard part. And even I think about different advisors we had on the podcast and how they got into it. Like William too, you might know him. He's like the financial engineer, does the TikToks. But he just said he just saw a nice car one day.
Yeah.
And was like, what do you do? You know? That's pretty glamorous.
Yeah, it is. It is the nice car. Again, though, I've always thought about this. If you drive a really nice car and you do finance, do people think you're either really successful or you use I'm paying too much premiums?
That's the way up all the time. I'm always like,
yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I think different now because, the age of Zoom and Google Meets and Teams, where you don't necessarily see your clients as much. And that's one thing that we are very much digital based. So we don't go out and see our clients. I think I might have seen, I don't know, 1 or 2 in the last month, right? Just in person, but they're my old existing clients, which I've always went to go and see them. I feel weird seeing them on a computer screen, but everybody else, and that's what allows us to talk to and help as many people as we do, is because it's all online and it's efficient for people. And one person can be at work, one person can be at home, you can both meet up, right? A lot easier. But I think seeing a nice thing, asking a question, being in finance is one way to do it. I think advisor schools can most certainly help. Education is always going to help there as well. But all we know is that we do need more young people in the industry, because we're going to get to a stage where people are exiting the industry, and they've still got a massive book of clients in the New Zealand general public that need to be looked after. And yes, there's going to be businesses there that can pick up those and buy those books, but we also want younger people in. I was going to say something, I forgot.
No, it's all, I mean, like even just coming back to the advisor school, it's like, oh, do I talk about it or not? Like, but to be honest, even if you share it, someone goes, that's a good idea, I'm going to steal that. That's like the outcome that we want.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing with that is it may well be that we get together with a group of financial advisors, right? That are all looking to potentially grow their business, but also really, really focused on creating better advisors, making sure that the advice that is given in this country continuously grows, gets better and better and better, right? It evolves with time. So it's not like a closed thing that we're going to do this and no one else can do it. It's about making sure that we just get the better outcomes or the best outcomes for one, our new advisors, and two, the clients that are going to be receiving that advice.
Love it. And one other question I want to ask you was, how do you, this is really early on, I thought of this one, but how do you automate a process while still keeping that personal touch?
How do you automate a process with keeping a personal touch?
You talked about efficiency in the advice process.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make that as efficient as possible while still keeping that, you mentioned your clients before you catch up with them in person. It's only been 1 or 2 in the last month. Like, how do you still have that personal touch with people while not having to see them 5 times throughout the process?
I think it's quite simple. It comes down to the value in which you add from the very beginning, right? Someone's engaging in your content. They've reached out and they want some help, right? The very first meeting is the most important, in my opinion, right? It's about showing that you actually care about where they want to go, asking all of the right questions, right? Understanding their motivations, right? Understanding their challenges and problems. I think when you can provide as much value without thinking about the solution, like we might know the solution straight away, but we want to help understand. We want that client to understand exactly. Sorry, I'll rephrase that. We need to understand as much as we can about that client for them to feel like we are the right people. So putting through as much value to begin with. Yes, we have all of our clients got booking online and we do everything over Zoom, but also we've got a lot of content online. So people can go and Google us and see who we are and see our faces, see our podcasts, our YouTube videos, stuff like that, right? So I think that provides us with a little bit more credibility as well. So we do encourage our prospective or new clients to say, look, if you're not 100% sure, go and research us. Go and have a look. Go and talk to people, and come back if this is something that you feel like we're a good fit for you. So keeping the personal touch is incredibly important, but that also comes through the value in which you create and you provide them with. So making sure that their best interests are aligned, making sure that you're punctual, right? Small things, making sure you're on time, making sure your language is good. If you create a really good client experience, you actually create the personal touch by asking the questions, caring about them. Now, also, if you use Trail for the birthday, there you go. For the birthday, what is it? The reminders that I just learned today. They can also do some personal touch.
We're going to have a sit down after this. I'm going to run you through a few things.
Please do. But yeah, I think the hard thing for people to remove themselves from seeing people in person to actually doing it online, it's a really hard, or was, I think for a lot of people, a hard transition, or it could still be a hard transition. Fundamentally, I look back and think, walking into someone's house at 6 o'clock at night, do they actually want me there? They want to talk about this, but do they actually want me there?
Nobody does.
I don't think that my clawback rate regarding personal touch, or I don't know this person, or our churn rate isn't high, right? And that's positive because it shows us that the value is there. And when I do call my clients, they still remember who we are, right? They still get constant communications from us. Making sure that they get, and this is again something that we are adding, is like a personalized video. So when they do reach out to us, they're going to receive a personalized video straight away that just more or less says, hey, I'm your financial advisor. These are a range of things that we'll be going through. Really looking forward to meet you. 60 seconds, 30 seconds, something really short. So they know and see me straight away. It's just for me about making sure that you deliver the client the outcome in which they need. And you do that not year 1, not year 2, but you do that throughout every single year. That's where you're going to make sure that you can hold on to those clients for as long as possible. And if you care about their outcomes and where they want to go and you get them there, that's the personal touch, right? That is saying, look, we've got you from not even owning a property to owning 4.
Can't argue with that, can you?
You can't, no. Or the aspects that you're always in touch with them. The personal touch isn't something that we've seen people say, look, you're not coming out to us, we're going somewhere else. Doesn't happen. But yeah, it was definitely a concern I had at the beginning before going fully digital, but we haven't seen any drop off due to it.
Great. Yeah, it's I can't imagine myself forgetting about insurance cover or forgetting about the advisor. But people obviously do.
Yeah.
Fathom that.
Even when we talk to people like how how recent has it been since you've talked to your financial advisor, if you have one, or a year ago or 2 years, or who was it? I don't know. So, okay. And this is one thing that as well that I take quite seriously is that when we talk to somebody with an existing advisor, the first question that we always talk about, well, first thing I do is see if I know that financial advisor, right? Do I know that person? If I do, it's just a no-go. We don't I always say, look, first and foremost, I want you to go back to your existing advisor to go and have that conversation, reach out, because I don't want to step on anyone's toes. The second one is if they do have a financial advisor, I always want to make sure I understand the relationship there. If they're like, look, yeah, he's all good, or she's really good, but we're just looking for cheaper premiums, then I'm sorry.
Not the right fit.
Not the right fit. Go back to your existing advisor, right? The advice has obviously been okay. You're just looking to shop around and we won't sort of facilitate that.
Because what happens a year down the line?
Correct. Yeah. Correct. And I think that's something where if you do see good advice, you often look, there's so many different ways to be able to look at an insurance policy, so many different ways. But if the needs are met, then just leave it be, right? Yeah. But yeah, as I said, the personal touch aspect of things is something that if you add value, that's all that really matters. In the end of the day, if you give them the desired outcome, you keep in touch with them. Doesn't mean every 3 months. You don't want to hear from your financial advisor every 3 months, do you?
Oh, they're boring anyway.
It'd be absolutely horrible. So
no, it's a really hard one to balance, and I think like a lot of the time people are like weighing that up.
Yeah,
especially if you've been doing insurance a long time. And something's working for you, and you've made your money, you're probably a bit more reluctant to let go of some parts because you're like, I don't want to rock the boat here. But the difference of changing, one part of the process could mean that either your diary's booked up, booking meetings over the phone, or doing Zoom, which means you probably have like an extra couple of hours in your day. So
yeah, it's the Zooms are awesome. Like it's so good. Well, Zoom, whatever platform you use, it's fantastic. But yeah, I also, the thing I think I love when I do talk to people, just, even though I'm not in their house, like when you went to someone's house, you could look around and try and find something that you can tie in common, right? If I go through someone's profile before I meet them and I see they've got a boat, for example, I love fishing. I love fishing.
You got a YouTube channel, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
I follow it, actually.
Do you?
I do.
I do. Okay.
You haven't posted much lately.
No, I've got all this content, but I've got that massive problem where I take all my stuff out, go to record it. They get so into the fishing, I forget to record it. So I know, horrible. So I need a cameraman if you're ever interested.
Yeah, I'll come out and film you.
Cool.
Yeah,
fantastic.
I'll borrow Madav's gimbal.
That'll be fantastic. Yeah. But things like that, I'll bring it up and I'll talk to them about that. Like I'll still try and find a personal touch, whether it be they're buying an investment property and I can, because I'm obviously I'm on that same train trying to buy an investment property as well. So I can talk to them about the process I've been through. If they bought a first home or they're trying to, I can talk to them about that process because I've been through it. So I'm always trying to find areas that I can relate to somebody in which I'm speaking to and understand them. And I think that's extremely important. If you start having those conversations, you learn so much more about them. I don't know how long it took for me to find out that you're a Newcastle fan, right? And there's not many of us.
No, dozens of us.
Dozens of us now. Yeah. Look, and it's a great time to be a Newcastle fan. So I just had to plug that in here today. So I don't know why, but
I'm thinking about it right now. Yeah, all the time I'm thinking about how good Newcastle are.
Oh, fantastic. Sorry, I just had to plug that in there. But yeah, it's just one of those things that we've got the software that you can use as a advisor, right? Whether it be obviously Trail whether it be Trail or something else, being able to harness as much information as possible is so important because the data that you can get out of that and the communication or the conversations you can have with people can really have that personal touch. You can still create those really cool relationships with people. Doing little things. One of the things I've got so many ideas that run through my mind, but if you understand that, you can then say, cool, I've got a group of 30 people in my book that love playing golf. How about I organize a golf day with all of my clients and network? They might network with people that are there. We can get people along. Little things like that we've definitely thought about doing as well. So just because you're not seeing somebody, it doesn't remove the personal touch. It's just how you go about your business, how often you talk to people, and how deep you actually get to understand them without just thinking about, oh, I just need to do the insurance, I just need to do the mortgage, I just want to do the KiwiSaver. It's about the depth of conversation that you have with them. I think it's the most important.
I love that. Just using your idea for the golf day, why don't you do one for fishing? Find all the people that have boats, take them on a fishing charter, and I'll come along.
Okay.
Perfect. There
okay.
You go.
We could do that. Yeah. We could definitely do that.
I know a guy.
You know a guy?
Yeah.
I know a guy.
Chuck used to work for a fishing charter place.
Did he?
He did actually.
Did not
I
know
think he put the website together or something. But
Wouldn't surprise me.
yeah,
Wouldn't surprise me.
we went on one for our Christmas trip one year.
I keep harping on to the team. I want to go on a charter.
So fun.
Yeah, but still, it's been vetoed every time. So I know we need to talk to people that are in high places.
Yeah,
I know.
he just walked past the room.
Did
There
he?
you go.
There we go. But yeah,
Mate, we've covered a lot. I really admire the way you've gone about things. You've obviously come on a bit of a journey, but just really appreciate all the ideas and the time you give me here today. And I know you're doing your own podcast as well. So yeah, I mean, tell people where can they find you.
whq.co.nz. Obviously Wealth HQ on YouTube as well. Mortgage HQ on YouTube. Believe we're on Spotify as well. The Leverage Addicts is our podcast for
Leverage Addicts.
Yeah, Leverage Addicts.
Yep.
All about leverage, property investment side of it. We got a lot of speakers on there, property developers, accountants, all of that. So again, it's all about a lot of the free content that is going out for people, so they can learn about it. And there's a lot of people doing the exact same thing. And the only thing that I really want to push is just keep doing it. Right, like get networking, get talking to people, keep doing what we're doing, because as an industry, we'll get a lot better. A lot more education will be out there for people to learn, grow, and make better financial decisions. Because we do have a problem with financial literacy in New Zealand. We've also got a problem with underinsurance in New Zealand as well. So if we can try and tackle those by getting good advisors, giving good advice, making or putting all of that knowledge on the platforms that are available to us, we're only doing good. Right. And it also gives you a really good point to look back at the videos you did 7 years ago and look at how young you were back then and how funny you were when you're talking about those sort of things. But it's I've gone through some of the old videos of Mortgage HQ, and it's it
changes. Even I watched like the first one we did with Rupert Goff, and like just so many little things that you're like, why do we do it that way? But yeah,
it'd be good to keep getting more people on here as well, because as I said, I tune into most of them. I actually know all of them.
Wow, thanks, man.
I listen to these, and it's great because it's a lot of people are in my industry or around, and I see them posting on the group. So it's interesting to hear their feedback and listen to what they're going through, because everyone has different problems that they go through, whether it be getting leads, whether it be the process from A to Z, the servicing of it. Like, there's always a weakness within a business. And for us, it's just, I know what I'm good at, and I've stopped trying to be great at everything or good at everything. And instead I've replaced getting people who are really good at those areas I'm bad at and just focus on what I'm really good at, right? So I've built my team, or we have built our team around that. And it's the best bit of advice that I got given to me when I was young, was just like, stop trying to be a hero to everybody in every section. Just focus on what you're good at and get other people to do areas that you're not so good at.
I love that. And it's also being a business owner, doing things you enjoy. Like, you've got the ability to hire other people and do the stuff you don't want to do.
There's a lot that comes with business ownership, though. Yeah. Like a lot of good stuff and a lot of difficult things as well, right? And you have to be ready for a roller coaster ride. It's not all smooth sailing.
Nice, man. Yeah. Well, hey, look, stoked to have you obviously come on the podcast, but also just bringing up the average age of the industry. Yeah. Sorry, breaking down the average age of the industry.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It's been good, and I look forward to. I guess I don't look forward to watching my own one, but I look forward to watching the ones past us.
They are good to listen back to, and then every time I go, why did I say that? Great question. I'm actually surprised that came out of my mouth.
Yeah, I know. And I'm probably going to get in my car and think, man, I should have said this. I should have said that. But
you'll do that every time, but it's part of it.
And I appreciate it.
We'll get you on for another one, depending how this goes.
Yeah, let's see. Get the views up.
Yeah. Cheers, Andy.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.